So when it comes up, just click share, right?
We're on. We're on. So
All right.
it was really something just a few minutes ago. Jesse and I, as we're getting set up, the fire alarm goes off. So here we are now live. And let me say something about Jesse before we begin, because I mean, this is a remarkable man in a remarkable community. And I knew when I met them, I met Jesse and a couple of his partners. I mean, they brought everybody into the life planning community immediately, which is one of the rare things, doesn't happen very often, but it just speaks to their character that they care about the clients. And they knew when they saw what life planning was, that this was the way to really listen to their clients. So that was phenomenal in and of itself. And each of the partners, if you met them, they're just wonderful, wonderful people. But what happened next really stunned me as well. As everybody knows, I wrote this book on a golden civilization, and I send out to a bunch of our LPs, registered life planners, that I'm hosting conversations and would be happy to host a client meeting. And Jesse and his crew were the first team back. And they hosted, not only was, I mean, it wasn't just 5 or 6 people showed up, but it was somewhere between 30 and 50 people showed up in their offices. And we had, this is in New York, let's see, what is it? What's the island? Long Island.
Long Island, yeah.
Long Island. And we had the best time. It was just amazing. It was early, one of the earliest Golden Civilization conversations I'd given. And I was a little nervous because some politics can come up and you worry about it, but it was like a love fest. I mean, people just loved the conversation. It went deep, it was meaningful, and you could tell they felt completely at home in this environment that Jesse and his partners have set up. So I was blown away. I was high as a kite for a week after that event, Jesse. And I just want to thank you, and I hope I've given you enough credit. Please tell us more about yourself and why you were interested in coming on with me on this Facebook Live.
Wow. Well, George, I've been in financial services for about 15 years, worked for a lot of the big firms, and back in January launched our own firm, Opal Wealth Advisors, which is really exciting. And as soon as I was introduced to the 7 Stages of Money Maturity by a friend of mine, and I read it, I was immediately captivated by the work that you were doing. And I followed you really closely. I read the book several times because as I went through, a lot of parts were speaking to me, and inspired me to look at things newly. So I immediately started Googling who's George Kinder and wanting to know more about the Kinder Institute. And, you know, you've been on my radar for a couple of years. And I think what inspired me a lot about really participating in the Evoke process and what inspired me about, as you introduced us to Golden Civilizations, was 5 years ago, I went through a divorce. And what preceded that divorce for me, what I really got present to after just a lot of self-reflection, was how I got wrapped up in the Wall Street culture, chasing money. It was never enough whenever I got to, and really explored, you know, what were the experiences in my life that had me get so wrapped up in this never ending pursuit of more. And a lot of self-reflection, and when I saw that some life experiences, I'm a cancer survivor, my parents divorced, myself, there's some decisions I made along the way about the way life was and the way money was, and that you couldn't be happy without money, or I couldn't be happy without money, and trust issues about whether I could trust people, and whether mostly I couldn't trust people and I had to do everything on my own. And I saw how that just became a repetitious, vicious circle of reaching for more, and no matter where I got to, what was always there is I had to do things on my own. I can't trust people, and an endless pursuit. And I think what was inspiring about the work was that you were doing is it helped me look back about my own money patterns, my own money stories, so to speak, and how that was influencing the way I looked at life. And then started to see that everywhere and wanted to bring that into our practices when we launched Opal.
Wow. Wow. Well, when I hear your story, and I've heard you tell it before on a couple of occasions, I'm always struck with how you did get stuck and what a contrast that person that you describe is from the person I know.
Yeah. I wasn't I mean, I think I was to myself that I didn't have, I had a lot of people that I knew, but not a lot of people that I opened up myself fully to. That fear of being vulnerable was profound for me.
Wow.
And I really saw how that fear of being vulnerable and really connecting with people had me get really turned inward and in my head, but at the same time not trusting people, desperately wanting to connect, like desperately really wanting to be there with them. And so there was like this fear, juxtaposed with this intense desire, and it was stressful. It was like this stuck experience, and it culminated with ultimately a divorce from someone I really cared about, and a lot of reflection over time helped me see how some patterns that began from when I was younger, and then my learning things along the way, and growing up in the 90s with the tech boom and wanting to be a doctor at one point, gave up that own pursuit and that passion and said, I have to make money in order to be happy, and I have to do things on my own in order to get there. I learned everything I could possibly learn about finances to be able to be successful at that, but that never really ultimately perhaps provided me independence financially. But like the numbers worked, I had enough stuff, but not really the freedom as an experience. So I don't know if that communicates.
Tell me what you mean by freedom there, Jesse.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about here at Opal Wealth Advisors is the distinction between financial independence and financial freedom. And financial independence being, well, do the numbers work? Do I have, I want to make $10,000, I want to spend $10,000 a month or $5,000 a month in retirement, whatever your number is, whatever our number is, and does the resources I've accumulated work for that? And what I realized for myself is that even though I accomplished all these goals financially, or was on the way to hit certain achievements, external measures by the amount of dollars I had, it didn't necessarily translate into fulfillment and happiness. So what we distinguish between independence is the mathematical financial freedom versus financial flexibility and opportunity versus freedom being the experience that's present, like when we're truly free and happy and fulfilled and living an abundant life, like there's joy present. So that's what we're really committed to, is like that conversation of providing people the financial independence, but also introducing the conversations here that are beyond the financial knowledge and skill set, but also introducing conversations around mindset and introducing the conversation about what's it really all about, what's going to actually have you most fulfilled. And that's what inspired most of me about the Evoke process, about the opportunity Golden Civilization, to really dive deep and connect with people about what's really most important to them. Get clear on where they get stopped, and where is that, do they have some beliefs or ideas about what gets in the way or what they can't have or the way things are, that being the mindset that interrupts that being fulfilled. And from there, we have the opportunity to really look at like, what are the financial behaviors, the actions that they're be taking, and help build a roadmap financially. And that allows for not only to gain independence financially, but actually really be free.
Fantastic. And of course, in all of this work, I mean, freedom comes up in all, but the word is used so many times, whether it's in Seven Stages or in A Golden Civilization. And we're passionate about bringing freedom everywhere to everyone, not just to people who have means, but in every way. And what you're describing, the two ways, whether it's financial or it's deep inside, how do you get that deep inside? And my question that I have for you is, because it's really interesting that you mentioned vulnerability several times. And here I am with knowing you, and I certainly can see that, that development inside of you, that movement through that. But I'm wondering, I mean, one of the things that stunned me, as I said, was that you almost didn't hesitate when it came to hosting a community meeting. So everybody in that room has worked with you and your partners, and bringing the stranger me in and talking about large issues that involve politics and economics, democracy and freedom and media and all the rest, and talk about what's meaningful to all of them in civilization. You didn't hesitate. And I think for most people, the vulnerability of that choice to bring everybody you know, and particularly clients, would have been very challenging. So I'm wondering what going through that process of encountering your vulnerability must have done to you, both in your individual work now with clients, but also in your trusting of your community.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think what the most distinct lesson for me around vulnerability is how it showed up for me previously. Was that vulnerability was weakness, and that I'm putting myself out there to be judged, and that people will knock me down. That's what vulnerability meant. And I think what I discovered in the process is that vulnerability was like the origin of connection. Something that escaped me so long with that trust concerns I had, of whether I can actually trust people from just childhood experiences, right? And now realizing that that was in the way from me from really connecting, which is what I really want, and then practicing that vulnerability. And it never feels good. There's always a moment where it's like, okay. And I realize though, if this is, I try to create that experience for myself as this is an opportunity to connect. It's not to say that I won't be judged. It's not to say that people won't have comments, but they're probably going to have judgments and comments anyway. So, and really to any true leadership, an opportunity to really make a difference requires that I open up and share myself vividly and openly.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's something I have to cultivate every day. Every day I got to recreate it. Some days it's easier than others, and other days I just want to put my head under a pillow. But I know it every time I do it. I'm grateful afterwards that I did.
Well, I hope you don't mind me asking about it, because it's such an incredible story, and it feels like, I mean, your movement through it is inspiring, frankly, and if only your story was the story of everybody out there who fears judgment, who feels vulnerable in a way that feels fragile and they can't express themselves as a consequence. What an incredible civilization we would have. Because we'd be more connected all the way around. Those artificial barriers wouldn't come up. So
well, I realized how difficult it is. The question of like, what are your goals? I mean, hate that. Most people, I hate that question. We hate that question as human beings, because it's like confronting. I gotta put something out online, and then we're confronted like, what is it going to sound good? Is this what society expectations? What are people going to think about my goals? Are they going to think I can't achieve it? I don't think I can achieve that. How, all those thoughts and questions and ideas that just run around. And so we don't. And I think it's as a responsibility as advisors, and such a profound responsibility. It's not just about the dollars in someone's account, but we have the opportunity to really provide something that makes a profound difference, to fuel or empower what they really want to accomplish in life, but that what they really want to accomplish in life is something that it's difficult to admit to themselves, let alone a total stranger or even spouses.
Yeah.
So the question is like, so how do we create an environment that's a safe place for people to open up? And I think that's where I realize it's on me to go first.
Yeah.
And then when I go first, it creates a space or a foundation for others to begin to open up themselves.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And that's such great life planning. And without it, people can't go. They can't really articulate. If they feel that you're holding back or you're reactive or something's going on that they don't know about, your primary objective is really, the money in your bank account rather than them. They don't connect, and they won't tell you what they really long for, who they really want to be. And then we can't help them become the free person they want to be. Of course, we have to have absolute integrity in what we do as well, and in our processes and our systems and our relationship to the financial world. And that brings up another question. I'd like to move more toward kind of the financial world. And I don't want to castigate where you've gone, because I know you where you were and all that, because I know you gained a lot from your experience. But you did move from a huge wirehouse major company in America to create your own firm. And I know that part of that dream, that image, was we want something that really holds to our values. And there was some sense that the industry, not necessarily this company, but the industry in general, made it tough to have a firm that held to the values that you guys believed in. So I'm wondering, moving toward the golden civilization conversation, what is it that the financial services industry needs to do? I mean, if we go out 1,000 years and we're there, we've arrived at the golden civilization, what does the financial industry look like that it doesn't look like now? What is it that so that clients come into you and they don't immediately have that sense of distrust because the industry's working, everybody's working right? What would it look like?
Great question. I did my father was in this morning, and we did a financial plan for him this morning.
Yeah.
And one of the first questions is, how much do you make and how much you want to spend in retirement?
Yeah.
And so I think what's missing in the industry is a commitment to get to what I alluded to before about identifying what is it people want from their life and planning and helping them plan on how to get there. And what I see is like different, what that looks like in the arena, what that looks like in life, in action, is one, we remove money as the goal.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the very first thing in most financial planning tools are those financial questions. And they are critical, they're essential, they're part of the process, right? But if all of our incentives are aligned on finances and purely on a specific dollar amount, our actions will align up with that. But really what brings fulfillment and true joy and experience of abundance is when we get clear on what we want. So getting clear what we want, removing money as the goal, but just and putting their goals in front of us and aligning the right structures and systems and actions, behaviors to have that fueled. That's one. I think the other thing that's really critical is that we stop telling people what they should do. And so the financial services industry there's no shortage of intelligence and knowledge and skill sets. And we put lots of we put a lot of great tools together and have a whole collection database of knowledge about economics and analysts providing reports about good places to invest. But it doesn't really alter someone's behavior. So it kind of begs the question, like, what really leads to new behaviors, leads to new actions around money? And well, I think we spoke to them, getting clear what we really want, because that inspires us that it's possible. But the second thing is the actions that we take are often correlated with how we view the world, how we see things, our perspective, the context. And most of that is shaped often by our life experiences and things that happen. So when we introduce this idea of like, what's our mindset and how did that get shaped and how is that affecting interrupting our abilities to take action? If we can really help people see things newly and get present to views that are there because of some past experiences, we have the opportunity to help someone see things newly, and new actions show up organically as a result of that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to belittle or diminish what it is about the knowledge side, but there are the money habits that work, the money behaviors, but there's also this whole world of the mindset, like how we see things, the perspective, and bringing presence to that, right? Bring awareness to that so we can see things newly. And because when we see it, we can separate it from who we are and then create something new.
Yeah.
And then that last piece, really getting clear what we want, which we call the money mark. So it's the money habits, the money mindset, and the money mark. All three of those things integrated together gives an opportunity to have people have money be a powerful tool that fuels and fulfills about what's most important to them, and seeing through that being accomplished. That would be a pretty amazing financial services world, I think.
Woo! All right, fantastic. And so the major thing that I'm hearing, I mean, you spoke it so much more with so much more depth and complexity, but number one, put the clients first. Make them really the center in their lives and their fulfillment, the center of what financial services is all about. And we're so much in alignment on that. I want to move one more step larger.
Okay.
We had an amazing event in your office. I really was high as a kite, as I said, for at least a week afterwards. It's so happy. I felt so much joy. I felt, the hearts of your clients open, and first of all, just because they cared about you guys, but clearly in this process, then they were opening to each other. And I could tell that some of them were on totally different side of the camp, and could be totally different side of the political aisle, even though there might have been a leaning one way or the other. But they opened to the engagement and were deeply moved by it. And so I'm wondering two things here, Jesse. One is, what is your vision? You've created a mini golden civilization right there. That evening was like a microcosm to me of what a golden civilization might look like. But what is a golden civilization? What would it look like to you? And do you have any reflections on that gathering that we had for 2 or 3 hours in your office a number of months ago?
What would a golden civilization look like for me? One, I think it's when we can step beyond our own fears of disconnection or fears of not belonging or being included, or bring presence to those experiences of not enough. And that's part of our wiring.
Yeah.
But when we just see that that's all that is just we're wired to survive,
yeah,
not necessarily to excel or thrive. When we can set that aside, we have the opportunity to really connect.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And I just think about what could we really accomplish together when we see that we're all the same.
Yeah.
And I guess I had the opportunity to attend a program in India, in Mumbai, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember I was excited to go there. And I thought that I was like, I see this whole new world and so forth. But, as soon as I get on the airplane, the first thought was like, am I going to like the food? Are they going to like Americans? Are they going to like me? All this like running commentary was just right there, and then as there's parts of Mumbai that are very poor, impoverished. I would see all that, and I had some concerns about, am I safe? And that was there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like this incredible outreach from the community of people that were there, just shaking hands and like they're happy to see me and so friendly. And then I remember in this program that started, I'm just present to some concerns that has on guard as a human being. And the program was at, people there started sharing about troubles in marriages, disappointments and breakdowns and goals that they were looking for, about a strife or disconnect with a child or a parent. And in that moment, I remember being there, it was so profound. And I was like, I always knew this intellectually, but what I got so profoundly in that moment is like how we all are exactly the same, the same.
Yeah.
So I think that we have the opportunity to really see that in the golden civilization, that we're all the same. We may have different interests, different cultures, different skin colors, different preferences, but at our core, we're still all the same. And we would deeply want to do is connect with each other. And if we saw that, like what would be possible from there?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, and the fear of not belonging, ending that, and moving through it. Fantastic, Jesse. Let me just that's really the essence, I think, of a golden civilization. I couldn't agree more. And as you know, my passion is to say it's time to do it. Let's do it this generation. Let's make it happen. And I'm wondering, we're pretty much at the end of our time together, and I'm wondering if you have any questions or final for me, or any final comments that you'd like to share as we close.
Well, I guess, one question: what's next?
Well, a couple of things I think of right away. One is, let's do it again. Second is that sometime I think I'd like to return to Opal and come down again. And the third thing is, I'm heading off to Mumbai at the end of next week.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, and I'm heading to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo as well, and taking them, of course, taking them this book and introducing the same.
I got it too.
All right, let's get it up there. Introducing the same conversation that you introduced with Opal. I'm introducing it now in each of those cultures, in a totally different part of the world, and then see if we can connect people from it. So that's where I'm going, and would love to do this again and do more stuff with you. Let's stay in touch and see what we can make happen.
Yeah, thank you for your leadership, George, and putting yourself out there and showing up for us the way that you do. It's a pleasure and such a unique opportunity, and it's so exciting for me I wish I could go back to myself and first pick up that book and say, oh, you're going to meet him, and be on the Facebook Live episode with him in a few years. Here we are.
Wow, wonderful. It's all been, every time I met you, it's just, you're an inspiring man, and I'll have another high for the day from having had this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.